I've got the camera on you, so nothing to worry about here, big guy. Big guy, there it is.
Well, I think probably the wackiest piece of advice that I ever got was I was in speech therapy when I was in junior high school, and after I finished 7th grade, the speech therapist told me that I had been cured, that I didn't stutter anymore.
And then you called it again?
Yeah, I know. I went out in the rain and yeah. And
it's back.
Yeah. At the time, I knew that I hadn't been cured. Like, I knew that I still stuttered.
Right.
But I didn't feel like I should contradict her. So I was released from speech therapy, and I kept stuttering, but I always felt that I shouldn't go back.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it took me a long time to realize that I needed to go back and say that there was still a problem.
Wow.
What about you, Jeff?
Well, my story is kind of similar because I remember when I was in a therapy program in college, and it's not about what I was told that was wacky advice. It's that feeling that me and a therapist talking, I can now speak fluently, I have these tools, and I don't have to be that way again. I will never have to be that way again. And we were feeling very confident about the whole thing, and we're sure that it was not too long after that I was stuttering again, and it all came back. The shame and the guilt, and why can't I cure this? Why can't I get better? Why can't I get fixed?
Yeah.
It's too bad that I had to see it that way, and fortunately I found this world.
Yeah, you're reminding me of a couple of experiences I had in speech therapy where, like, your speech therapist would, like, say that, oh, you know, things are getting so much better and you're sounding so much better these days, and, like, you know, you knew it was all bullshit what she was telling you, but, like, it just kind of felt good to hear it. So well, I anyway would be like, oh yeah, it's great, you know, but I mean, it certainly wasn't. What about you, David?
The biggest weakness was that I didn't meet other people that stuttered. And also I would like I had these contracts. I never did the contracts. You know, I kind of faked it. You know, I kind of checked off my list like an hour before speech therapy, and there were always these
like a practice sheet or something.
Yeah,
what
like
like
contracts where I had to like put my hand on my stomach and speak like this. You know, so I was breathing from the diaphragm.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And
I will practice for 20 minutes a day to be fluent.
Yeah, stuff like that. So
you had to sign it, and the speech therapist signed it, and your mother signed it, right?
I don't remember if my mom didn't have to sign it.
You'd like to disagree with me a lot.
But so you know, through the years, I had this. You know, I guess there was that natural anger that a speech therapist maybe didn't help me more, and but then somewhere along the way, I also realized that obviously I wasn't a willing student, but what was interesting was I spoke at NYU maybe 3 years ago. But what I didn't know was there were co-teachers in the class. Actually, I got to the class because there was a student in the class who was in the Manhattan Group. And so she asked that we come. And so I spoke to one of the teachers. So I get to the class, and my speech therapist is there.
Oh, wow.
From 20 years ago. And so, normally I'm not nervous, speaking in the classes anymore. But since he was there, I was like, verklempt. And so I said, what's interesting was this. I said, in the beginning of my speech, I said, usually, I said, I can't criticize my speech therapist because he's, right there. And he said back to me, or he said back to the class, I would criticize me 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And like, that to me was really interesting. That it made me realize that speech therapists are, just like me and you. They're just doing the best they can.
Right.
Like that was like a breaking moment. That was like a big moment.
Yeah.
That was a big moment for me. Just having that.